Hi guys, this is Evan Summers with Summers Wellness. As always, I am here with Dana from Whole Health Dana. Thank you all for being here tonight. Tonight we are continuing our essential oils education classes that we do every single Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tonight we are going to discuss the highly charged topic of internal use of essential oils. This is one that is kind of near and dear to my heart, mostly because the information that I was told when I first started using essential oils is drastically different than the recommendations that I make now that I've made and done a lot more research on the topic. I do have a presentation that we're going to start off with. So I'm going to run you guys through a PowerPoint, give you some information as I know it. And then when we're done with the presentation, I will happily open the floor for questions, open Q&A. For those of you that are watching the replay, you are more than welcome to join us every single Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern on Zoom. The link will always be in the Summers Wellness page, as well as the Essential Oils Education Group. You're welcome to join us every week as we discuss essential oils. This is a completely brand neutral presentation. Week after week, we always make sure that we keep this brand neutral. This is not focused on any particular company's oils. We want to make this open and welcoming to everybody in the realm of essential oils. So for those of you that are here, like I said, type your questions in the chat box at the bottom of the screen. For those of you watching on replay, if you have any questions or comments in regards to tonight's broadcast, please type them into the chat windows on the Facebook groups, and we'll be happy to try to answer whatever questions that come up. So with that, let's see if my screen will want to share itself. There we go. All right, so tonight we are going to talk about the internal use of essential oils. So the agenda for tonight's class, we're going to start off defining it. I'm going to talk about some of the internal use claims that are all over in regards to essential oils. We're going to define what GRAS means. What is GRAS? Talk about the history and the background of the internal use of essential oils. We're going to cover a few myths surrounding this topic. Also going to discuss why and how you would use these oils internally if that's something that you've decided that you're going to do. And we're going to go through and talk about some dangers and some cautions to using essential oils internally. So, as always, we must always start with a wonderful disclaimer that essential oils do not prevent, treat, or cure disease. For all medical conditions, please consult a medical professional. That's not what we're here to do for you. So your lifestyle prevents disease. Diet, exercise, proper rest, stress management, toxic exposure. That's what prevents disease. Doctors will treat your symptoms and fix broken parts. The body knows what to do to cure itself and heal itself. So that's our disclaimer. So let's get right into the definition and the usage claims on internal use of essential oil. Basically, to define internal use, a lot of people only think of ingestion. Basically, taking an essential oil, putting it in water, and ingesting it directly into their system. There is more to internal use than strictly ingesting it orally. You do have oral representation. That is the number one. But then even amongst the oral application of internal use, you can look at it in two different ways. Number one is the ingestion through your mouth in a glass of water, in herbal tea, in a smoothie, things like that. There's also the internal use by putting it into a gel cap and taking your internal essential oils more directly to the stomach. And we're going to talk more about that as we go through, especially as we start getting towards the end. But those are your two oral applications. In addition to oral, there are three additional internal uses of essential oils that most people never discuss. Even people who claim to be well-versed and using essential oils for years. So aside from oral use, there is vaginal use, there is rectal use, and there is even intravenous use. Now, we're not going to get into the individual, we're not going to dive real deep into each of those. This is kind of an overview, but if you've got questions about any of them, we'll talk about that at the end. So as far as the usage claims, these are things that are generally talked about quite a bit in the world of essential oils when it comes to internal use. You'll see very frequently, oh, use 1 to 2 drops in a cup of water. They're safe to use daily, according to the GRAS list. You can put a drop under your tongue. You can put a drop on your tongue. These are all claims that are made that are designed to help you use your oils in a daily format internally. There are some troubling statistics in the way people use these because they're not given true protocols on how to use those. So a little bit of background on where this came from. A lot of people recognize or reference the French school of essential oils, or the French method of essential oils. Dr. Jean Valnet, he is considered to be the father of modern essential oil use. He started using essential oils to treat wounded for the French back in World War II. And he is regarded as the father of modern aromatherapy. By 1978, the pharmacists and physicians in France started to get involved in Dr. Valnet's work. And at that point, that started to create that French method, that French school that is being talked about. In actuality, the English, the German, and the French schools of aromatherapy were actually included as a joke in a speech about aromatherapy back around the turn of the century in the early 2000s. And the line was, the German system of aromatherapy, which is strictly aroma, is comparable to platonic love. You cannot make babies with platonic love. The English system, which is centered around topical use, is like flirting. You still can't make babies. The French system of aromatherapy is like the full Monty, and that will make babies. So that was actually done as a joke in comparing the way the English, the French, and the Germans use essential oils on a regular basis. So moving on to GRAS, generally recognized as safe. This is an FDA term. In order for a food substance to meet GRAS status with the FDA, the following 4 criteria have to be met. Must be recognized as safe by qualified experts. There is no definition of what a qualified expert is. So I do have an issue with little bits of this, and I'm going to tell you what they are, and that's one of them. There's no defining factor for what is a qualified expert. The experts need to have the appropriate training and experience to evaluate the substance's safety. Again, very vague, left wide open to interpretation. Appropriate training and experience doesn't define what that appropriate training and experience is. And the GRAS standard is something that kind of encompasses a lot more than just essential oils. It includes foods and additives and other things of that nature. So they leave it vague on purpose. Safety is determined via scientific procedures or through a referenced common use in food prior to 1958. So if it was used in foods prior to 1958, the FDA considers it to be safe. Modern understanding and testing practices notwithstanding, I guess they are assuming if it was in use prior to 1958, it can still be in use today. Finally, GRAS is determined by the conditions of the intended use in the food. So it's all about conditions of use, how it's intended to be used. So those are the 4 requirements for it to meet GRAS status. It is designed for food additives. It's not designed specifically for essential oils. They're designed for things that are going to be added to foods. The oils that are on the GRAS list are there for their use in the food industry as a flavorant. In addition, they're on that list because a number of these oils are high in antioxidant as well as antimicrobial properties. So they'll use them as a natural food stabilizer. They'll use essential oils as a way to improve shelf life. So these had to be added to the GRAS list for that regard. They weren't put on there as medicine. They are considered safe in commonly used amounts. And this is the one that gets me. On the GRAS list, they only say commonly used amount, but it does not include what dosages are considered safe. And the reason I've got the 1 to 3/1 to 3 is what they are considering safe is 1 to 3 drops of oil, 1 to 3 times a day. So when you break that down, they're telling you that the essential oils on the list are considered safe anywhere from 1 to 9 drops a day. As we know from the use of essential oils, every essential oil has different components. They interact differently. 1 drop of oregano, for example, is vastly different than 1 drop of peppermint. And there's some people who are watching this broadcast right now that are just violently shaking their head yes in agreement to that statement. So let's get into some of the myths. This is always my favorite, and Dana is currently beaming right now because she loves when I talk myths. Number 1, I follow the French method. Well, if you truly follow the French method, in France it's illegal for anyone other than a physician or a registered pharmacist to administer essential oils therapeutically. Physician or registered pharmacist. If you are claiming that you're following the French method of essential oil use, then you, by definition, would have to be a physician or a registered pharmacist in France in order to do so. It's on the FDA GRAS list. Well, we just went through the GRAS list, so we know it's designed for food flavoring additives. It doesn't consider impure processing standards. A lot of essential oils on the market today are processed improperly, using some type of an alcohol to pull the oil out of the plant. You're not getting 100% pure oil, you're getting a food flavoring. In addition, on the essential oil use in foods, they're usually somewhat processed. They're more processed than the pure oils because they have to make them more available to be a dispersant in liquids. Essential oils are not immediately able to be absorbed into other liquids other than oils. Oils mesh with oils. So if you have a water-based solution, you have to do more to that essential oil in order to make it and force it to be able to mix with that water base. It's natural, so it's safe. That's a big one. A lot of people will tell you that. I use my essential oils internally because they're natural, therefore they're safe. Well, there's a lot of things that are natural that are definitely not safe. Ask anybody who has an allergy, a distinct food allergy. Let's just say nightshades, because it's very easy to look at a natural product like a nightshade vegetable that some people are highly allergic to. Nightshades in their raw form can actually be processed into poisons. So just because it's natural doesn't mean it's safe. If the label says not for internal use, then that oil by definition is not pure. Again, big myth. A lot of essential oil companies, even ones that are producing true 100% pure essential oils, will put for external use only or not for internal use on their labels just to cover their butt in a society that is increasingly litigious. People like to sue for everything. So just because the label says not for internal use doesn't mean that it's not a pure oil. Company whatever told me that it's safe for me to use my oils internally. Oftentimes when a company is telling you that it's safe to use your oils internally, or they repeatedly direct you to use their oils internally without any true dilution percentages, without any understanding of who you are or how to use those oils, without going through and putting you through rigorous training, then that's them trying to sell you something, sell you more oils, get you on board with doing an additional process that's going to make more money. They're safe because I've used them for years. Just because you've used something for a lot of years doesn't mean that your body's not building a tolerance to it. Essential oils are primarily processed by your liver. You can, over time, develop a liver toxicity to something that you may have used without incident for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Over time, as your body starts to build up that sensitivity to your essential oils, you could suddenly find yourself in what could easily be termed a trauma situation that you never saw coming. At some point, your body could quite simply say, okay, I've had enough. And you could become sensitive and highly sensitive to not just the oils that you're using on a daily basis, but to a whole line of essential oils. So if you're using lemon, for example, in your water every day, you could theoretically develop a sensitivity to all citrus oils because they have similar components, similar chemical composition from one to another. You could develop a sensitivity to an entire class of chemical components of your oils. So just because you've used them internally for years doesn't make them safe. So why would you use your oils internally in the first place? This is the question when somebody asks me, and I get asked every single day that I do an essential oils broadcast, especially on Periscope, can I use the oils internally? If I do a class for people or I'm educating others on oils, I'm always asked the question, well, can I use your oils internally? Can I take them in water? So why would you use them internally? Number one, it should strictly be for short-term acute conditions only. And when I say short-term, I'm saying no longer than a week at a time. For an acute situation, something like, and I don't want to use medical terms, but for a condition that is a sudden onset, something that's causing a great deal of distress that you need to get a handle on quickly. But again, short-term use, no more than a week, preferably no more than 3 days, just to be able to kind of supercharge the body's healing processes. Number two would be in food preparations, especially your oils that are either spice-based. Those are phenomenal. Some of your earthy oils are great to use in food preparations. A little bit goes a long way. Remember, it takes in excess of 150 pounds of lavender flowers to make 1 pound of lavender oil. It takes in excess of 200 pounds of peppermint leaves to give you 1 pound of peppermint essential oil. They are highly charged. They are highly potent. You could utilize your essential oils in food preparations strictly by dipping a toothpick into the bottle, using the toothpick to mix that around, and then taste your food. But to put more in, because we're just not programmed to think at the microscopic level. We're not programmed to think that a single tiny drop of essential oil has that amazing power to flavor an entire dish. So we tend to put in a drop or 2 drops or 3 drops, and before long, we're killing the food. And it's just overpowering with the essential oil. You can always add more if you need to. General rule, when you exchange an essential oil for a dried herb, this varies depending on your oil, but on a general rule, 1 drop will equal 1 teaspoon of a dried herb in a food preparation. Another reason you would use them internally, full body systemic changes. You are in the middle, you have something going on that is interrupting your body's systems, that you need to make internal changes to the processes of the body. Under the assistance of a clinical aromatherapist, they can work with you, do the proper testing and protocols that can undergo full body systemic changes. But in order to do that, that requires a litany of tests, taking cells from your body and applying different essential oils in a lab setting to see which oils are going to get you the best benefit, and then quite literally, with that French method of aromatherapy, recommending or prescribing the proper oils for your particular body chemistry. And of course, finally, targeted therapy. So therapies for a particular area. What I say on that one, especially if you're using internal methods of essential oils and you're using them rectally, using a suppository, you actually can get body benefit while bypassing the liver, because the essential oils, by using them on a suppository, gets right into the bloodstream and it bypasses the gut and it bypasses the liver, so it's giving you more direct impact directly into the bloodstream. So how would you use them internally? Well, like we just said, under the direct supervision of a clinical aromatherapist. So let's talk about that for a quick second. What does it take to be a certified clinical aromatherapist? There are schools in this country that provide that type of teaching. It is coursework in excess of 200 hours of aromatherapy work. There are some great schools that will offer clinical aromatherapy programs that will give you a greater understanding not only of your oils, but the chemistry of them, how they work, how they interact in the body. But that is the first person you should be reaching out to in regards to internal use. The 4 methods, as we mentioned earlier: orally, which we know there are 2. You can either do it with ingestion or you can take it in a gel cap. Rectal, vaginal, and lastly is intravenous. It's very rarely discussed, but there are more outside of this country. There are physicians that will incorporate an intravenous approach to clinical aromatherapy as well. Like I said, you also have gel caps with the direct ingestion. All right, so dangers and cautions. This is why I don't recommend internal use very often. Number 1, mucous membrane irritant. Your soft palate, your mouth itself is all very soft tissue. Your throat, your esophagus, heading down to your stomach. You can irritate that soft tissue very easily with repeated use of essential oils internally. You can get a drying sensation or a heating sensation, both of which could actually create a greater amount of saliva to be produced by the body. The water and the oil don't mix, so the saliva could actually further intensify the negative reaction that you get by using your oils internally. So you start to develop an even greater sensitivity, and you could literally burn your tongue, the inside of your mouth. You could burn your throat and your esophagus by using your essential oils internally, especially if you're using them in a glass of water. Oil will rest on top of the water. So you're not actually flavoring the water. The first time you take a drink, you're drinking a mouthful of essential oil. So you're not dispersing it through the glass, through the water. Essential oils have antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiviral, and antifungal properties. Think about all of the discussion that's been going on now for the better part of about a year, year and a half, talking about the horrible condition of our gut. Gut health has been atrocious for people. There's so many supplements and programs and gut health foods on the market. As you start ingesting essential oils that are antibacterial and antimicrobial, you could be doing more harm than good to your very fragile gut health. Pregnant women should absolutely avoid internal use of essential oils. In fact, for pregnant women, I also tell pregnant women to completely avoid peppermint because it can inhibit your ability to produce breast milk. So if you're planning to breastfeed, peppermint's a big no-no. Using your oils in plastic water bottles, so you can actually burn through the plastic and leach plastic into your drink. Lastly, when we're told to use or suggested to use essential oils internally, it's rarely done with a consideration of your individual body system. What's your metabolism? What's your medical history? What's your diet? What's your lifestyle? What type of conditions may you've had in the past that is going to be different than your neighbor? I may use an essential oil every day because I love it. And I may take a drop of peppermint in my water every day. I may be on this presentation saying, you don't know what you're talking about. I love my lemon in my water every single day. But that recommendation, even if it was recommended to you and it's a great oil for you and you love it, your friend, your neighbor, may have a negative reaction to that oil based upon their own personal body system. So making a blanket recommendation across the board for everybody is just unsafe. And I think more concern needs to be taken. Now, if you choose to do that for yourself, if you choose to use oils internally for yourself, knowing the danger, knowing the caution, knowing possible benefit, that's a choice you've made for yourself. But just because you've made that choice for yourself doesn't mean it's safe for others. So that is the extent of my presentation on this one. I hope I gave you guys a wealth of knowledge. I'm going to open it up for questions. Let me shut down the sharing, bring everybody back up. Hey, I can see everyone again. Let's see. No questions in the chat. If you guys have any questions or any comments, unmute yourself. Click that little mute button at the bottom, unmute yourself. Feel free to speak up with any questions that you guys may have. Either myself or Dana would be thrilled to answer them for you.
Evan, it's Michelle.
Yes.
Why do some companies actually sell supplements that are in gel caps?
And there are a number of them that do that. There are two different types of supplements in regards to natural plant material. There are some that are completely herb-based that are either just the raw herb broken down into a powdered form and put into a gel cap. You're not getting a high intensity level like you would with an essential oil. But when you do have some that will put essential oils into a gel cap, what I recommend and what you'll see with the gel cap is it's not strictly essential oil. It's always going to be added with a carrier. So it's going to be pre-diluted with coconut oil or a different carrier oil for you to take in internally in that gel cap. So it kind of spreads out the impact on your body so you don't get as rash an impact when you take that internally. The gel cap also helps protect your esophagus, so it doesn't start getting broken down until it's in your stomach or bypassing the stomach into the intestines.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Let's see, Dwayne typed in a message. Do we know if CBD oil has been added to the list on essential? I haven't seen CBD oil with any of the essential oil companies. Only because I think the CBD oil is a blend, and the cannabinoids are less than 0.3%. I don't think they can sell pure cannabis oil, 100% pure cannabis oil outside of a handful of states. Anyone else got questions?
You overwhelmed them.
I must have.
I was debating on asking one. I'm
the oregano oil, because I have really bad candida, and I had considered taking it internally.
Uh-huh.
So I should not take it internally?
If you do, um,
Yeah, I'm the pain in the neck every week. I know.
it's all right, Jay. No, you're not. Just remember it's a very, very, very highly potent oil where a
Mhm.
tiny bit would go a long way. If you did that, I would do that for, especially knowing your background, knowing what you're going through. I would be very cautious because of the other things that you're trying to take to treat other symptoms that you have. I would almost recommend for you, if you did that you did it as part of an elimination process, because if it works and you're still taking everything else, how do you know what really worked? And then when you do that, if and when you do that, it should be highly diluted in a gel cap that you can take internally. Don't try to just drink it.
Yeah. Well, then what would be, let me back up. Is that the best way then to take it?
It would be, especially for a hot oil like that, it would be considerably the best way to take it. Just, to try to help you avoid any type of reaction.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And if with oregano oil, if you did decide to do something internally like that, I would also add another oil with it. So when that gel cap dissolved, it's, you've got some coconut oil or some olive oil or something in there, just to because it can be kind of harsh. You might back talk a little bit.
Yep. All right. So
Okay.
Dora asked the question, what's the best way to use essential oils? And different combinations. What do you mean, Dora? What do you mean by different combinations that are out there?
I just put
Topical. Sorry.
okay. I just put additional information. Sorry about that.
Okay.
First of all, I apologize if I ask question that you already
Oh no,
answered.
no need. You're fine.
I'm new in this area for essential oils, and there was a big recommendation from this company, Miracle Oils, and they sell, let's say, for digestion, their combination of different oils, for energy, for good sleep, and stuff like that. So I'm wondering, and when I called the company, they said that the oil could be used externally or internally.
Right.
I am wondering, what did I put myself in?
Okay. Well, as far as internally, you do get a larger percentage of essential oil concentration into your system when you take oil internally. That's usually the reason people think that they should take their essential oils internally. The stomach, however, will destroy, because you got a lot of acid in your stomach, the stomach will destroy some of the benefit of that essential oil when you take it internally. When you apply an essential oil topically to your skin, you lose between 50 to 60% of it into the air around you, because essential oils by nature are volatile aromatic compounds. So when you just put them in on the skin, about half or so of the compound evaporates into the skin around you. That's why you smell it just as much as you feel it. If you use a dispersant, like a carrier oil, like coconut oil or another type of oil, when you apply it topically, then you're actually increasing the amount of essential oil that can get into your bloodstream by another 50%. So instead of losing 50%, you'll only lose about 20 to 25%. And then the closer your veins are to your skin surface, the better chance you have of the oils getting into the bloodstream. So think of the difference between applying oils on your pulse points, like on your wrist, versus oils on the palm of your hand or the soles of your feet. the blood vessels are not as close to the surface. So it takes longer for the oil to get into your bloodstream. And then, of course, what I always recommend, the best way to use your essential oils is aromatically. Using them in a personal inhaler or a diffuser. Diffusers are amazing because they help get the oils internally because you're breathing them in. They're landing on your skin microscopically onto your skin. So you're also getting that topical benefit as well. And you're helping to purify the environment around you. So you're getting multiple benefit when you use your oils using a diffuser. And that particular company that you mentioned, I haven't done any research into, so I don't know anything about that particular company. So I can't even give you a recommendation on that one.
Thank you so much. I was wondering if there are a combination of a few essential oils. They probably know that they work together. They don't beat each other.
Essential oils actually work. Yeah, essential oils work better in combination with one another. They have a synergistic effect. So you can get most of the time when you get your blends of oils, they're scientifically blended to work better together than any of them do alone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's see. Looking back over the questions, Marcy, people should be ingesting oils at their own risk. doTERRA's Slim and Sassy oil is designed to be ingested. So that is one that is considered to be a lighter oil, a more easily tolerated oil. I would still be cautious with that. They also include that Slim and Sassy blend in gel caps that are already pre-designed as a metabolism gel cap. So you might even want to consider that just to make sure you're getting the proper amount and you don't overdo it. Let's see. What are some ways to use oils vaginally? Meaning what methods? That would be I have no experience in this area for obvious reasons. And I see Dana's cracking up because she knew that was coming. That would be done similar to the way you would rectally, would be on a suppository. And again, be uber careful, ladies, in that area, because there's just a little tiny bit of sensitivity that could result. So you definitely want to be uber careful, not only of the oils that you're using, the types of oil, but please, please, please make sure that what you're doing is in very small increments. You test it first, and that the oils that you're using are absolutely 100% tested for purity. If you have any doubt whatsoever about the purity of your oils, any question whatsoever, don't even consider vaginal application. And I would also stress that you would want to reach out to a clinical aromatherapist. I am not there yet. I have not yet chosen the school that I will personally go to for that, but it is on my radar. It is something that I'm fully intending to do. Let's see. Linda's taken oregano and tomato juice in the past. I think that actually, I wouldn't do more than a single drop. I think anything more than a single drop is overkill. But having something with the viscosity of tomato juice will at least give you a better chance of it dispersing throughout the tomato juice, as opposed to putting it in water. I have also recommended, when using your oils that way, I've also recommended doing it in a smoothie. That way you can at least get the essential oils dispersed throughout the smoothie. They're not just going to immediately rest on the top of the glass. Use the oregano oil and bone broth in a gut cleanse. Make sure you shake that very, very well. Also, you're going to remember this: if and when you use your oils in food preparations, when you heat up an essential oil, you're destroying its therapeutic benefit. So you're only getting the aroma. You're losing any therapeutic benefit when you heat them up. So if you're doing it in something like a bone broth, add it to the bone broth after the bone broth is completed. don't add it to the bone broth while you're cooking it because you're gonna blow out the therapeutic benefit. Let's see. Is there anything else I need to answer? I think Nicole mentioned that. Jay, I'm not even gonna I'm reading your comment and it's making me laugh about using a garlic clove vaginally before oregano oil. Using essential oils in your bath. All right, so that's taking us a little away from internal, but I always recommend if you're going to use oils in the bath, and you guys that were here for the topical discussion remembers this, use them with a dispersant, which means use them with a lotion. Add them to milk if you want to add them to milk. What I'll also recommend, best case, is up to 10 drops of your essential oil in 1 cup of Epsom salts. And then let that rest for at least 30 to 60 minutes so the volatile nature of the essential oil gets absorbed by the Epsom salt. Then put that in the bathtub and then take your bath. If you let it rest longer than an hour, you could let it rest overnight if you want. Let it rest as long as you want. But put the oils into Epsom salts first, or a combination of Epsom salt and baking soda if you take a baking soda bath. But allow your oils to permeate into the salts first, and then use that for your bath. It's going to be a lot safer. Ladies, I can tell you, I know of 2 women that did not follow that advice, and they just put peppermint in the bath water, and they got into the bathtub without thinking. And let's face it, you guys have some sensitive parts down there, and getting into a bathtub as wide open as you may be when there's peppermint resting on top of the water could lead to claw marks in your ceiling. So just keep that in mind. It's part of the reason that I let you guys have a little bit of understanding up front. All right, do we have any more questions? I know Dana probably has a list.
Not tonight, I don't.
Any other questions, guys? I mean, if you have other questions about oils, you're more than welcome to toss them out there at this point. Just a quick reminder for those of you that are stuck with us that are watching this on replay. We do a class like this every single Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can always find the link both on the Summers Wellness page as well as the Essential Oils Educations group on Facebook. So you can always find the link. We always use the same Zoom room. So the link for a previous week will still be good for upcoming weeks. Next week, Dana is taking control because next week we're doing DIY FYI. So Dana's going to give you guys a bit of an education on how to use your essential oils for home DIY projects, of which we had a bunch of them in the house today.
Next week is Father's Day. Will we still be proceeding?
We can push it back a week if you want. What do you guys think? Everybody going to be out to dinner for Father's Day?
Hey, I say move forward.
No.
It's not Mother's Day.
Not
Yeah,
here.
that's what we did. All right, so we'll do that. We'll push it out one more week. We'll respect the dads the way we respected Mom. All right, so we'll go a week after that.
Okay.
I'll change the date on the. I don't think I have it posted yet, but I'll do that today.
Okay. That's the 26th.
Sounds like a plan. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll
Thank
open
you
it up.
so much.
You're welcome. I'll open it up for some other questions if you guys want to have some other questions after the recording's over.